Okay, Alex, the reality is here, we are Democrats. We believe in being elected to govern our country. In this case, the United Kingdom, but obviously you talk about Scotland being separate. Why is it then that we actually think it's quite acceptable for 60 to 70% of our laws to be made now by unelected bureaucrats in Brussels and then imposed down here on citizens of the United Kingdom? Doesn't that seem to you to be wrong? In other words, voting to leave would surely allow us to take back that control of that democratic process of bringing our laws back to the United Kingdom. Why are you so opposed to that?
Well, I don't accept your 60-70% figure.
House of Commons library figure.
I've seen the library report, and of course what they did was to count statutory instruments, of which there are many, and legislation, of which there are fewer, and they got to the figure of 13% if you did a count of both statutory instruments and of legislation. But you see, I think that the key areas, incidentally, which you controlled until just a few weeks ago, like Social Security, have got very little to do with the European Union. And the decisions that you made when you introduced the bedroom tax weren't because you were following an edict from Brussels. It's because you, as the Cabinet Secretary, made that decision. And when the folk in the disabled chairs were trying to storm from the central lobby into the members' lobby just a few months ago to make their protest at what was happening to them by your Social Security changes, they weren't protesting against Brussels bureaucrats. They were protesting against you as a Cabinet Minister who had made that decision.
But that is about what national government is about. I've asked you a very simple question. Do you think it is right that people in the Commission have the right to make laws? We don't have any right to do that in Brussels. And as it said, whether you count statutes or not, they're all laws at the end of the day. The key question is, why do you think it's right that the UK government no longer controls its lawmaking capacity so that whole areas of what we do are now dictated to us by unelected bureaucrats in Brussels?
The vast bulk of these regulations are for things like the single marketplace. Incidentally,
they go way past the single market, way past the single market,
which was part of the Margaret Thatcher view of Europe. So you can hardly now complain about the regulations to enforce the single marketplace when it was actually a conservative idea in the first place. The other onus of regulation from Europe is on the social protections that we spoke about earlier on in this debate. These social protections guaranteeing part-time workers the same rights as full-time workers, holiday pay, maternity pay, paternity leave, these key things which many people in your campaign are on the record, and not just Boris Johnson, incidentally, Priti Patel, and we could go right through them all, wanting to sweep away. These are important protections, and if that is European legislation, Iain, I'm all for it. Because I would rather have these protections than leave it to the tender mercies of people like Boris Johnson, Priti Patel. I mean, not everybody in the Brexit campaign is as nice and reasonable and understanding as you were to these people with disabilities, Iain.
Thank you.
A lot of your colleagues want to sweep away all social protection.
Okay, Alex. So we're at the point now where democracy is only any good as long as it does exactly what you want, but as soon as somebody else is in, you'd rather be protected by a bureaucracy. So I have a second question.
But these are important protections, Iain.
Well, they're protections, but Alex, that is exactly, surely,
are really important.
Surely the debate in the Commons or wherever it is and Parliament is about where you set your laws. It cannot be that an unelected group of bureaucrats in Brussels sets our laws for us. But I have a second question.
I think it's right to have commonality of social protection across Europe. That is one of the things which makes it a social union.
You've only got one more minute in this section.
So and I have a second question, Alex. You've talked about how business and everything else wants us to stay in the EU. Can you answer me this question then? Why, if business wants to stay in the EU and they think the marketplace is so important to them, why have they been stripping out investment from the European Union and putting it in the United States and in the Far East? Why are they not investing? So in other words, the net investment level from business in the UK into the European Union is now negative. It's been negative for over 9 years. It is now at the lowest level it's ever been. In other words, they're taking it out. Let me give you one figure. Net disinvestment now from the EU is nearly £80 billion a year. Why do you think they're doing that?
But surely the key thing is inward investment into this country, which we were just told
Alex,
recently.
I asked you the question about why does business have no faith in the European Union as a marketplace?
Listen, I'm not somebody who deals in the scaremongering nonsense of George Osborne.
No, it's a fact like these are published.
But I want to make this point
published figures,
if you go to the inward investors who've gone to a record level this year in Scotland and across the UK, and you said to them, is it important in your inward investment to have access, guaranteed access to that single market of 500 million people? The answer would be overwhelmingly Yes.
So the final bit on this one then, and this is just literally the final bit, is therefore you are looking, if we remain, you are content that the instability of the euro area, the high levels of unemployment, the massive chaos over migration, and the terrible behaviour of the EU on Greece, which is the reason why they are stripping investment out now, you think that is a risk worth taking if we vote to remain, to stay in that chaotic and
memorably
underinvested
said
area.
earlier in this debate, you don't know what the economic consequences
that is the consequences
of leaving
now
are, but
of where we are. They're taking money out of
will
the EU,
certainly be
Alex.
negative. Negative in terms of family incomes, negative in terms of jobs. And you don't have to believe George Osborne to know that's the truth. It's about this £250 million a week figure that's blazoned on the Brexit bus. Now, the chair of the UK Statistics Authority has described it as misleading. The All-Party Treasury Select Committee has told you to repaint the bus.